so much for joining us. And the other day I was just sitting by myself and remembered the idea of Get It Right with the Tara Solutions was born on 23rd of June. We are 2 years old. Drum rolls, yay! This is season 3. Season 1, we did 26 episodes. We started with how do you register a business? We also covered how do you communicate your registered business. We hosted Mr. Karundu, who taught us what customers want. We hosted Mr. Panessa, who took us through how to run a business for 40 years. And then we have gone and on and on and on matters that affect employees and employers. And we are so excited that we are on the 24th episode of season 3. So yes, we have been at this, and yes, the session is normally free. And we are so grateful to our speakers who have opted to come and just share their knowledge, because they are subject matter experts. If you would like to catch up on what has been happening on Get It Right with the Tara Solutions, we have a YouTube channel. I know Kevin is about to attach the link. Our YouTube channel is Get It Right with the Tara Solutions. If you would like to catch on, please go. There's a lot of information in there. It is for you to consume. If you're stuck, for those who are job seekers here and you're going for an interview, there's a session for interviews. If you're a job seeker and you want to do your LinkedIn, you're wondering what to do and you cannot even afford to pay somebody, please go there. There's information on how to do it. Like, we have covered so much, and it is for you. So if you have missed any of those, please go to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to catch on. My name is Grace Nzula. I am the host of Get It Right with the Tara Solutions, and with me is Kevin Adipo. Kevin Adipo, 2 seconds to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name, as you've heard, Kevin Adipo. I work with the Tara Solution as a HR associate. Back to you, Grace.
Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you so much for the congratulatory messages on the chat. Yes, it's no mean feat, 2 years. And sometimes I want to give up. By the way, I was telling Jacinta, one of our colleagues, I was like, Aki Jacinta, when are we taking a break? And she's like, Mommy, we did 30 episodes of season 2. What exactly are you asking? We are on 24th episode. Can we talk about it when we hit 30? So yeah, we are still here. And remember, July, we are focusing on HRs. It's our HR month. So we are focusing quite a lot, like about 2 or 3 episodes will be tackling on issues around HR. We are hoping to discuss employee relations. We are hoping to discuss how to grow your career in HR. And all these things are there. Oh my God, I can talk. Oh my God, God, please allow me just 2 seconds. I almost forgot I am not the speaker tonight. But yes, we couldn't do this without the help of some of our partners. We have Balcon Housing. Balcon Housing has been with us since season 1, and they are still, season 2, and they're still here with us in season 3. And then we have Stallion Construction, or rather, Balcon Housing is a real estate and property management company. We have Stallion Construction Company, which is a construction firm. We have Ames College of Business and Technology. For those of you who want to take CHRP, if you're in Nairobi, or anywhere, because they have online classes, or you have somebody who wishes to take a diploma in something, Ames College of Business and Technology. And then we have Wandi Restaurant. Wandi Restaurant is a restaurant located along Nanyuki Nyeri Nairobi Nyeri Highway, and at Ola Kambiti. Ola is a petrol station along that route. And then we have the Career Management Center. Career Management Center is a HR consulting firm. They have a wonderful program for moms who've taken a break to go and be with their family, moms who've taken a break on maternity, and they are helping you bounce back into work. So the Career Management Center, they have an awesome program. If you belong to that category and you're wondering, so how do I bounce back into employment? How do I bounce back into work? Career Management Center will walk the journey with you. And then we have Pathway Solutions Services. Pathway Solutions, oh my God, I am so grateful to Frank. You guys have been beneficiaries, Agile, including people in Uganda. Brian has taken quite a number of courses with Pathway Solutions Services. Kevin, I saw your results. There are some things you are scoring 100%. They do trainings on LMS, Learning Management System, where you actually, it's self-paced. You log in, you do the learning, and then you take an assessment and you get a certificate at the end. And tonight, they have a giveaway for all of you. So stay here. We will announce at the end. And then we have WeClean. WeClean is a carpet cleaning company. If you're looking, they have a machine that cleans carpets within 6 minutes. It is just so great. And then they pick and they collect and deliver if you're in Nairobi. So for free. And I know that the weather is not very friendly for carpet cleaning. So that's where WeClean comes in. Then we have Kapula Mintito. Kapula Mintito sells vipocho pocho via pwani, or rather coastal snacks. If you're looking for mabuyu, if you're looking for cashew nuts, if you're looking for honey, if you're looking for CMOS gel, by the way, anyone here, you need to go and read about CMOS gel. Kapula Mintito are your people. And then we have Fina Gardens. Fina Gardens has given us an offer. If you're a follower of Get It Right and you're in Naivasha, you go and mention that you are from Get It Right with the Tara Solutions, or you say you were referred by Grace Nzula, you get a chance to get a 10% discount on whatever it is you'll be consuming. And if you're staying there in August, you pay for 2 nights and they'll give you 1 night for free. And you just need to mention Grace Nzula or mention Atara Solutions, and you have an offer for you. And then we have the College of Career Guidance and Development. College of Career Guidance and Development are running a program for career guidance. If you're a HR professional or work with the youth or work in TVET institutions or just any college or schools, primary schools, high schools, and you're looking to further your education in terms of career guidance, we are in a year where we must be intentional and must be deliberate. So career guidance, College of Career Guidance and Development will sort you out. And then finally, we have Panessa Training Institute. Panessa Training is a carpentry school that offers woodworking course that runs for 14 weeks. So if you're a guy or a lady who wants to explore working with your hands and create beautiful, beautiful pieces of furniture, then Panessa Training Institute is there for you. Other than that, allow me to just make this announcement. We have a session coming up on the 7th of July, and this is a session for Form 3s, Form 4s, and those who cleared Form 4 this year. If you're looking to, we want to take them through making informed career choices, because we realize that most of us are in careers that we never chose. Most of us were even confused about what we wanted to do. Like, we used to answer that question very well between the ages of 1 and 10. I don't know what happens after teenage, but by the time we are hitting 18, we really can't tell which option to take. And we are about to guide people on that. We are charging 2,000 shillings. I'll be sharing the flyer at the end. And please register your students. Kevin has put up more details on the chat. You can read there. So I apologize that I have taken a lot of time celebrating 2 years, but I mean, yeah, it's my seconds. Anyway, it is no mean feat. Allow me to introduce Mr. Joseph Ajal. He is a global award winner. Okay, that is mostly what I wanted to say. Ajal, I just wanted them to know that you're an award winner. But he has a lot of he is certified that, certified the other, certified. But I was like, I read your profile and I was like, Jesus Christ, this one is goals. I cannot wait to get there. So Joseph, tell us, you know, I have people here and I know quite a number of business owners are logged in because they have been running businesses and they're probably suffering from owner manager syndrome. I'm not saying I'm not one of them, but we are not too sure how to let go. And I know HR professionals who are tuned in here because they cannot, they're always here. How do I plan for who is taking over after me? So you can introduce yourself and then take it on.
Thank you, Grace. I hope you're doing well. I know the weather in Nairobi is pretty chilly at the moment. In Kampala, it's pretty warm, actually, so it's the exact opposite, but we're doing good. Joseph Ajal is my name. I'm an associate certified coach. At the moment, I serve as the president of the International Coaching Federation, Uganda Charter Chapter, ICF. I'm also a human resources practitioner, and I will not bore you with the details. Grace has already introduced me quite nicely. Yeah, so that's about it. I'm excited to speak to you tonight, coming out of my home in Uganda, and obviously speaking to the audience from across East Africa. So I'm really looking forward to spending some quality time with you tonight. Thanks for the invitation, Grace and Atara Solutions. All right. So is that the cue to proceed, Grace, or did you still have something to say? You're muted.
No. Please go ahead.
Okay,
This is
great.
your moment now.
All right, great. It's exactly quarter past, or is it 16 or 17 past 8? I was told I have exactly 30 minutes to make this presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, you own a business. You might be the founder, you might be the CEO, you might be the proprietor, might be a sole proprietorship, might be a partnership, might be a dealership, might be a limited liability company, limited by liabilities, limited by shares, limited by guarantees, whatever the case might be, a non-government organization, a non-profit, commercial enterprise, whatever the case might be church founded or religiously founded, might be purely profit driven or non-profit. That's immaterial. Ultimately, you need people. The best resource that you need in your organization is people, and not just people, the right people. So in the book, Good to Great by Jim Collins, he says the best resource in an organization is not people. It is the best people or the right people. Do you have the right people on the bus? Is it the right bus in the first place? Is it going the right direction? If you're going to Thika on the Nairobi Thika Superhighway, if you're going to Mombasa, if you're going to Nakuru, if you're going to Kisumu, are you on the right highway in the first place? Are you on the right bus? Do you have the right people on that bus aiming for the right direction, same direction, unity of purpose, unity of thought? Then you want to ask yourself the question, do the people have the skills and competencies required to move our organization from one level to the next level? Those are questions you ought to ask yourself as a business owner. And then lastly, but not least, do we have the right pipeline for succession? So today, my topic is talent management and succession planning, the whole spectrum of it. So what is talent management? Now, when we were children, when I was in high school, those of us who are sporty, I play basketball. So those of us who are sporty, or those who played football, or it's called soccer in other parts of the world, but in East Africa or former British colonies and protectorates, we call it football. It was assumed that those who were skillful in a sport were talented. Now, if somebody was skillful in other areas of life, let's say academia or other skills, they were not necessarily considered to be talented. So that was a warped high school definition of talent. Talent was narrowed down to sporty people, sportsmen and sportswomen, athletes, basketballers, footballers, netballers, runners, name it. That was a very, very narrow definition of talent. Today, however, we know differently. We know talent to be those people that form part of your succession pool. What do I mean by this? In every organization, there are at the very least 3 tiers. It could be less, it could be very flat and just have 2 levels, leaders and the rest. Or it could have 3 tiers. Now, for your typical corporation, typical small, medium scale, or even large scale enterprise, you typically have 3 levels or 3 layers of authority. You have the leadership, then you have the mid-level, then you have the entry-level staff. So let me give you a typical example from banking. Every one of us has interacted with a bank or with a Safaricom agent or mobile money agent or Airtel money agent, whatever the case might be, whichever part of the world, whichever part of East Africa you live in. In a typical banking scenario, entry-level jobs are jobs such as bank teller, operations officer, banking assistant, clerk, banking clerk. These are some of the titles of entry-level jobs. You might also have graduate learners or graduate trainees or graduate management trainees, GMTs or GTs or GLs. Whatever you refer to them, that's all right with you. You might also have credit officers, credit assistants. These are typical examples of entry-level positions. You might have call center agents. You might have front desk officers or front desk assistants or customer service agents or customer service representatives. All these titles mean nothing except the fact that these are entry-level positions. They're usually reserved for people coming out of what we call talent banks. So what are your talent banks? Is it a bank that you keep cash in? No. A talent bank is basically those institutions of learning that produce talented people or skilled or competent people to enter the labor market. So universities of higher learning or institutions of higher learning and universities and colleges that produce certificates, diplomas, and degrees these form what we call the talent banks. Now, in some industries, especially in banking and fast-moving consumer goods industries, FMCG, where competition is so tight, the talent bank can also be your competitor. Oftentimes, we headhunt from competition because you want a ready product to plug and play without having taken through lengths and months and years of training. So the competition might also turn to be a talent bank. So what happens when people join the organization as entry-level talent? They could come in as interns, they could come in as clerks, they could come in as graduate learners or graduate trainees or GMTs. Once they join, or officers or assistants, once they join your organization, you now take them through skilling. You train them, you take them through an induction process. We call that onboarding. Now, just like in a typical flight scenario, onboarding can be pretty stressful. I don't know anybody who, if they have a flight tonight at midnight or 1, is still in town in Nairobi City, CBD, looking for things to shop and buy. No. By this time, your bags are packed, or still in Kampala looking for things to shop and buy in Garden City, for example, or downtown Kampala. Your bags are packed by now. If your flight is at 1 a.m. or at midnight, you're actually about to get into your car, drive to JKIA or to Entebbe. Similarly, when you join an organization, no matter how many years of experience you have, the onboarding process has got to be seamless for you to onboard without necessarily having any injuries. Now, what are injuries or missed flights? Injuries are things such as having an induction crisis. An induction crisis is when an organization fails to retain you after your probation. You flunked the probation. In other words, after 3 or 6 months, you're told we don't have a place for you anymore. Sorry, sir, or sorry, ma'am, please leave. That's called induction crisis. It's very, very expensive and costly for joiners to leave the organization within the first 12 months of joining. We call that rookie turnover. A rookie is anybody who is at least 1 year or less in an organization. And this is borrowed heavily from sports. If you think about the NBA, National Basketball Association in the US, you think about the National Football League or National Hockey League, most of these leagues refer to the people that have joined in their first year of practice as rookies. So anybody who leaves or turns over within their first year of joining is a rookie who has left before they have made their first birthday in the organization. Rookie turnover is extremely expensive. The cost of advertising, the cost of recruitment agencies, the cost of the recruitment process itself, the downtime in business as you wait to fill in the role, the downtime in the person learning on the job, the learning curve being very deep and long until eventually they master the skill is at least 1 year. So if you hire a person who lives within less than a year of being hired, guaranteed you're suffering losses, colossal losses because of rookie turnover. So this is why you need a succession management system and a talent pipeline. So what happens once they have come in, they have been inducted, it's been successful, they have been appointed, they have started working. You now take them through skilling, through continuous learning and development. Now you want to move your organization from just being a high impact learning organization, or also known as high-low, to a high impact performing organization, also known as high-PO. High impact learning organization, high-low, into a high impact performing organization. You want to move your organization from just organizational learning, which is sporadic, that's OL, to a learning organization, which is LO, or you might actually add HILO, high impact learning organization. Now, somebody like Dorothy Nyemera, who is on call here, the head of HR at Capital Markets Authority here in Kampala, a friend of mine with whom I went to the University of Manchester, would know that you can't just move from having an organizational learning, which is sporadic, to having a high impact performing organization without going through certain steps. So learning must be budgeted, must be planned, must be meticulously followed through. You have to have return on investment on learning. In much the same way as you invest money in any other asset class, the investment in people must return by way of skilling, by way of performance, by way of profits, by way of return on investment. That is what you ought to do systematically to ensure that your organization stays competitive and stays ahead of competition if you're in a competitive space like commercial. Now, most of you are in a commercial space, which is very competitive. Subsequently, you now have middle level positions. You start to introduce positions such as team lead, supervisor, and so on and so forth, or even mid-level management. So you have positions such as, again, going back to the banking scenario, or going back to the fast-moving consumer goods scenario, which is very common, we are all familiar with this, you might have positions such as team lead, supervisor, or even branch manager or operations manager. Whenever you hear the word operational anything, it's mid-level. Because at the foundational level, it's tactical. At the operational level or mid-level, it's operations. And at the executive level, you have executive management. So those are your CMT, country management team, also known as EXCO, also known as the C-suite or the chief suite, chief human resources officer, chief financial officer, chief information technology officer, chief risk officer, and so on and so forth. These are also known as heads of department, heads of function, or heads of unit or heads of section. No matter what the nomenclature is in your organization, they simply refer to senior managers or heads of department or heads of function. So these are the three levels in any typical scenario. Entry level, I've mentioned some of the titles. Mid-level, you have supervisor, team lead, and among other things, branch managers, operational managers. Then at the top level, you have head of this, head of that, head of the other, chief this, chief that, chief the other, director this, director that, director the other, general manager this, general manager that, general manager the other. These are all but functions that describe what the roles of these people are. In essence, they are MD -1. They are the level of managing director or chief executive officer -1. So they report into the CEO or to the MD or the ED, whatever title you call your organization, or the whatever director title you have for the leader of the organization. So those are the three levels. Now, how do you move a person from entry level straight into EXCO, executive committee, country management team, senior leadership team, SLT? Irrelevant. It doesn't matter what you call these people. Ultimately, you want to be able to move people from entry to the top and in as short a time as possible. How do you circumvent that process? Through skilling, through learning. Now, there's the 70-20-10 rule of learning and development. What is this? 70% of everything we know, we learned by doing. 70%. 20% of everything we know, we learn through mentoring, coaching, and supervision. In other words, there was a supervisor correcting us, correcting our work products, giving us instructions, giving us a job description, giving us key performance indicators, giving us key result areas to ensure that we continue to perfect the skills. That is 20%. Now, what about 10%? 10% is classroom-based learning or instructor-led training. The reason we use the word training is because it starts and stops. In some other cases, when we're talking about the 70%, it's learning. Learning never ends, but training is event-based, it's classroom-based, or virtual like this. It starts and stops. There's a start and stop time. That's training. The difference, now I hear lots of people saying training and development. No, that's a misnomer. It's not training and development. It's learning and development. Because training is event-based. It's time constrained. It's resource constrained. Learning, on the other hand, can be self-paced, can be at night, can be in the morning, can be on public holidays or weekends, can be, computer enabled like we're doing right now, can be virtual, can be physical. That's learning. It's never ending. You never stop learning till the day you breathe your last. You stay a learner for life. So lifelong learning is an essential part of building a succession and talent management pipeline. Now comes the critical question. How many tiers of succession must I have in my organization? Ladies and gentlemen, best practice, have at least 3 tiers of succession. We call that a bench strength. Just like in the game of football, you have 11 players on the pitch, you have another number of players on the bench waiting to come on as subs. You can sub up to 3 players and then take off the tired ones, bring on somebody else with fresh legs who might even score a goal. That's a bench. The succession bench is also the substitutes bench. In other words, if somebody left the organization today, what are the chances of the next person in line taking over their position and performing just as well, if not better, without any system downtime, without any performance downtime, without any business downtime? That's the meaning of succession planning. Now you move from succession planning to succession management. What's the difference? So you have your 3-tier bench strength. You have your entry level, your graded learners. We also call those hypos. In this case, it's not high impact performing organization, but high potential. When people join an organization at entry level, look out for these sharp stars. We call them A-listers. Look out for the A-listers. They are called hypos for a reason, because they have high potential. Now, based on how well you instruct them and how well you work with them, they can move from potential to performing, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that because one was a high potential that they'll end up on exco. We call them A-listers and also known as high potential staff. It does not necessarily mean that because they're an A-lister or a high potential, that they'll end up as an excellent performing staff. Not necessarily. Why? There's a risk involved. The risk is derailment. In much the same way as you can be in a train and the train derails, you can also have a very high potential staff member who comes in with a first-class degree from university as a bachelor's, who joins in with this amazing energy level, but along the way derails. What are some of the things that cause derailment in young potential or high potential? Things like habits, use of and abuse of alcohol, use and abuse of drugs or substances, addictive substances, narcotics. That is a very, very high risk of derailment. These employees will derail. Financial mismanagement, mismanagement of money and debt, accumulation of unnecessary debt and toxic debt will inevitably lead to derailment. Relationship issues. There are people who are like a ball, bouncing from one relationship to another very, very fast, never settling down to allow time to cultivate a warm, loving relationship with a person that they are, they're in love with, or raising a family for that matter. So ultimately, they waste a lot of time and money chasing pursuits that would ultimately lead them to derail and trying to please people. The human mind is very, very amazing. I know lots of young people who borrow money that they don't need to impress people that don't care, and ultimately end up hurting themselves, and everybody turns and says, hey, we told you so, didn't we? We warned you. So those are potential risks that lead to eventual derailment. Now, bearing in mind that somebody stays the course and does not derail, then what next? You've taken them through learning and development, you've taken them through coaching. Remember the 20% I talked about? I talked of coaching, mentoring, and supervision. So you've taken them through coaching, you've mentored them, you've put them into a robust learning program, you've taken them through courses here, left, right, and center. They're now almost ready. Then what? Now you start to track what we call the readiness index. What is the readiness index? You have to track those high potential staff over a period of 10 to 20 years, by the way, 10, 15 to 20 years. You have to track them. So what is it that makes a person ready for succession? It's the competencies and skills they have. So you start to track. There's what we call R1, readiness, RN, readiness now. In other words, this person is ready now. If their line manager dropped dead today, the person who reports to him or her can take over that same day and perform just as well, if not better, than the incumbent. That is called ready now. In other words, these people are ready now. In your talent management metrics, you have a talent management pool, you have a talent review panel, TRP, made up of EXCO and HR. These people are either EXCO or EXCO -1 plus HR. HR is the coordinator, but the talent review panel needs to sit at least once every 12 months or every 24 months, at least once, to review the talent pool that they have. Now, I want to introduce another concept. That is the talent pool. So people graduate from the hyper pool to the talent pool. Now, what's the talent pool? It's the pool of staff or executives or leaders or managers from whom you pick for succession into executive management committee positions. That's it. The senior managers who will be ready for succession, the junior managers who will become senior managers, the officers who will become team leads, the team leads who will become supervisors, the supervisors who will become entry-level managers, operational managers, or branch managers, the branch managers who will become senior managers at HQ, headquarters, and the senior managers who will become executives in the C-suite, and the executives who might potentially become the MD, and the MD who might potentially become the board chair. That is your talent pool. Not everybody in the hyper pool necessarily graduates into the talent pool. Because to get to the talent pool, you must have a series of skills and competencies necessary to graduate you out of the talent pool, out of the hyper pool into the talent pool. I've told you about the risk of derailment. So not everybody in the hyper pool makes it to the talent pool. And not everybody who was not in the hyper pool, remember, hyper pool is not for everybody, fails to graduate. Some people are not necessarily in the hyper pool, they're just in the general happiness group. But something switches, they get a coach, and within 2 to 3 years, they're in exco, or 5 years. What happened along the way? They skilled themselves. They had an attitude change. They had a mentor, they had a coach, they had a counselor. And they jumped. They were not necessarily even in the hyper pool. They were not among the people with first-class degrees. They had past degrees. They came through. In Uganda, we have a saying, they came through the ventilator, not even through the window, not even through the door, through the ventilator. Come on. And they ended up in exco within 5 years. How? Because they skilled themselves. They skilled themselves. They were robust about learning. They were intentional about learning. They burnt the midnight oil. They put in the time and the effort. They taught themselves. They went back to school. So you can skip the hyper pool and end up straight in the talent pool. Or you can start off in the hyper pool and derail and get out of the organization even if you're not careful. So now we're at the stage where you have now senior managers. You now have senior managers who are ready for succession. So you have readiness now, RN. You have readiness 1 means in 1 year they'll be ready, or in 12 months. Readiness 2 means in 2 years or in 24 months they'll be ready for succession. And R3, it means in 3 years or 36 months they will be ready for succession. And then RFW, what is FW? Future wave. It means beyond 3 years, 5 or more, it's future wave. Future wave. In other words, this person is still a high potential. In 3 years, there's no way you can hire somebody from the university and in 3 years is head of risk or head of loans, credit. It's not possible. They are still a future wave. They still need more work. In the book Start With Why, Simon Sinek talks about the 10,000-hour rule of specialty. In other words, to become a specialist in anything, you need at least 10,000 hours of practice. What is 10,000 hours? It's 10 years. That's why most executive adverts talk about 10 years experience in the C-suite. It's not because we love experience too much. No, it's the easiest way to measure whether you've attained the necessary skills required. It's the 10,000-hour rule. Simple. All right. Another writer, Malcolm Gladwell, refers to the same concept of 10,000 hours in his book, The Outliers. So you've got to have at least 10,000 hours of expertise and practice in any particular skill to be considered as a specialist or an expert in that field. Trust me, if you start now in 10,000 hours, you'll be an expert in anything you put your heart to, whether it's music, whether it's medicine. You can start now at the age of 40 or 50 or 35, and you'll still be an expert in 10 years if you so wished to change your career path. So it's not true that what you studied at university should now define who you become eventually. If you're not passionate about it, why waste time doing it? All right. I'm watching my time. I have 5 minutes left to come to the end of my particular session presentation. Then I'll open up the floor. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is now what prepares you for succession. It's that readiness index. Some of you use the 9-box grid. Some of you use the 4-box grid. Some of you use the 6-box grid. These grids are simply ways of tracking succession. When is somebody ready now? Are they a right fit, or are they a diamond in the rough? Do they need more work? Do they need more skilling? Do they need more coaching? Do they need more training? Are they a misfit? In other words, a square peg in a round hole? All these questions you ought to ask yourself, and you need to be brutally honest. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to caution you, especially you CEOs and founders. Do not keep the succession planning document as a top secret kept in a safe under lock and key. You'll cause problems in your organization. Let people talk about succession openly. If you make it a top secret, trust me, you'll develop silos and cliques and divisions, and people will jostle for power and position and fight one another. Make it crystal clear and open. These are the criteria of the next MD. Even if there are up to 5 or 6 ExCo members who are ready for succession, let them know. And when the job opens up, let them all apply and let them all be interviewed openly and professionally. And may the best man or woman get the job. not based on who is your relative, who comes from your tribe, who comes from your region, who speaks your language. That's immaterial. And if you start to do this, you will destroy your organization. We've seen lots of companies in Kenya, I will not mention names, we used to see very successful shopping chains, hypermarkets, but they were family businesses. They did not prepare for succession. When the Wazee, the founders, got old and weak, their sons fought each other so badly they ended up in court. Where are those companies today? I will not mention names, but you know them. They collapsed. What did they lack? Succession planning and talent management, period. A very basic thing. If they had hired me, I would have given it to them for free like I'm doing now. You know? So it's not that hard. It's not rocket science. Follow the process. For us as coaches, we say, follow the process. Stay true to the process. If you don't follow the process, if you circumvent the process, if you start hiring relatives, friends, and in-laws, you're going to destroy your organization. Hire skill and hire what you lack. Hire your weaknesses. Don't hire people who are similar to you only. You'll have groupthink in your boardroom, in your exco meetings, because everyone will be thinking just like you. They'll be like, yes, sir. In Kenya, I think there's a way, there's a connotation you guys use in Kenya. I think if you keep agreeing with your boss all the time, you say, Ndio Baba, Ndio Baba. You're going to create a culture of Ndio Baba and you destroy the organization. You don't need to be praised. Why should they keep calling you Baba, Baba? Baba Anani? Who did you produce in this organization? Nobody here is your child. We've all come to work. We've earned our place. Unless you, of course, you're hiring relatives, right? So if you're weak at analytics and metrics, hire somebody who's good in numbers, in statistics and economics. If you're weak in financial management, hire a strong accountant. If you're weak in marketing, hire a good salesperson or a good marketer, and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, my time is up. Exactly 30 minutes on the dot. Over to you, Grace. Thank you so much.
I have laughed, Ajal. Oh my God, you're such an orator. Ndio Baba. You're about to say Udia and Nasimio and Wajakoya. And not to get into politics for sure. But I'm loving this conversation. And before I just take on the questions from the audience, let me ask you, for the founders in this room, at what point does this start? Because I know most founders realize that they need to do this when, one, they're ready to retire, two, when they are tired of running the business, say you've been doing it for 20 years and now you're tired of running with it, or at some point, like 10 years into the business, at what point should founders start?
Is that question directed to me, Grace?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
You need to start succession planning the day you register your company. In Uganda, we call it Uganda Registration Services Bureau, URSB. The day you go to pick up forms and talk to the lawyers to register your company, that's the same day you need to start thinking of succession. Because guess what? If you drop dead tomorrow, if you get an accident and you're paralyzed, if you fall on the bus, like we say proverbially, how will your organization continue without you? Do you suffer from founder syndrome, that in your absence, nobody else can do anything? Do you fear to go and leave the organizations where the founders never go and leave? Because they fear. Are you going to live forever? Are you immortal? Won't you get old and sick and die eventually, even if you die of natural causes, old age, 80 years, 90 years? Can you still go to office at 90 or 80 every day? No matter how strong you think you are, you can't. So succession planning and talent management is as integral to the existence of the organization. Just like you're opening a bank account for the first time, getting your certificate of incorporation for the first time, registering for taxes with URA or KRA, you also need to think of a succession plan and talk about it with your organization. Tell them, delegate authority when you're going on leave and rotate the seat. One time you delegate to one, tell them you have my DOA for the next 12 weeks or 6 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever the number, or even a week. Delegation of authority, DOA. And delegate around the clock. Delegate to all your senior leaders. As you test them, you're testing them. You're testing their succession readiness. You're testing. One time I traveled for about a month away from my organization. And when I returned, my staff told me, now we understand how tough it is to do what you do. Now we understand. And I needed them to understand that. Otherwise, they would think, oh, this guy doesn't do anything. They realized I worked crazy, crazy hours and that I put in so much to make them, to cover them. There are lots of decisions I took that they didn't even know about. I shielded a lot of fire that was coming at them that they didn't even know about. And they understood for the first time when I was away for a month that, you know what? Our leader is very, 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 very good at this thing. They understood for the first time. And they understood me even better. And they were more responsive when I gave them, work instructions now, because they knew this guy is covering for us a lot of flack and heat out there. And imagine, that was just from a month of being. So as you rotate the seat of succession, the seat of delegation, and the seat of acting when you're on leave or you've traveled abroad, your team will start to master the skills that you yourself, the founder, bring. And for goodness sake, founders and leaders and managers and executives, do not be selfish. This is a big problem in our part of the world, selfishness. You say, I will not teach my team what I know. What if they become better than me? So what if they become better than you? So what if they become better than you? That's the whole idea. The student is supposed to become better than the teacher eventually, such that the teacher remains as a sensei, as a guru, as a master, as a mentor, as a coach. And the respect that the senior has will never vanish, because those people will always pay allegiance to he that or she that raised them up, gave them their first paycheck, gave them their first training, their first skilling, their first airline ticket. Do you know how grateful most young folks are for their first passport and their first air ticket, their first flight out of the country? They will never forget you, who made it possible for them to go for those training programs, who promoted them into those positions, who put them in the line of fire. We call that crucible experiments. And give them crucible experiments. Crucible comes from the word crux, which is a Latin word for cross. So the passion of the Christ, you've heard about that. So crux simply means a very painful, irreversible process. For example, if you burn paper, you cannot reverse and get paper. You get ash and maybe some bit of smoke and water. That's what happens. It's a crucible experiment. You burnt up the paper. It cannot go back to being paper. So when you put your stuff through crucible experiments, very, very difficult assignments, it's either a sink or swim assignment. Sink or swim, period. If they swim, then you know they were ready for succession. If they sink, then the test has also been passed by you, not them. They have failed the test, but you've passed. Now you know they're not ready. Now they need another 2 years or 3. Now you know they have sunk, they have not swum. That is exactly the meaning of a crucible experiment. Over to you, Grace.
All right. Yes, for everyone who is asking about the recording, we will upload it on our YouTube channel. Kevin is about to share the link. Please subscribe. We will have it probably before Thursday of this week. Now, Joseph, you've raised quite some really, really good pointers, but now come back to the reality we have, and I know people in Uganda suffer the same. The issue of corruption and the issue of nepotism and the issue of who knows who, because when I shared one of the flyers and somebody was like, okay, fine, Grace, this is fine, but in a lot of institutions, they stopped doing succession planning. Nowadays, it's about who you know. It's also about how much money you have. And it's also about just technically which tribe or something that you come from. And these are the issues that some organizations are facing to date. And I'm talking this on behalf of the HR professionals on this call because I know they've been suffering. But before you answer that, allow us to remind that this webinar is brought to you by Atara Solutions in partnership with Balcon Housing, Pathway Solutions, Stallion Construction Company, College of Career Guidance and Development, and FINA Gardens. Ajal, what do we do about these issues?
You have to have the honesty to face the facts. Like I said, you cannot build a robust organization on tribes and ethnicity and affiliations and relations. If you hire your brothers and sisters, if they are competent, fine. I was reading a LinkedIn post this week of 5 Nigerian sisters who are all doctors. Every one of them is a specialist in another field of medicine. Now, if those 5 Nigerian sisters form the hospital, great, they are skilled. But imagine you bring an accountant to be the CFO because you think they'll manage your cash and your money, but they've never seen a day of accounting training in school. They will crash and burn your organization. just because they're your relative or sibling or whatever the case might be. So avoid the tendency to be swayed by your relationships as opposed to competencies and skills. You can give your relatives shares, it's okay. Make them sit on the board of directors, but do not, for goodness sake, make them run the operations of the organization, especially if they're not skillful. If they are competent, great, you have that added advantage. But if they are not competent, do not dare. Now, if you work for a public entity, it's even illegal. Now that is now crossing over to nepotism, okay? And tribalism and whatever else, isms, those isms, we know the isms. Do not do that. You're running the risk of destroying your organization. And if you don't destroy your organization, you'll get caught out by some of these investigative organizations like the IGG, the Ombudsman, and they might try you in court for corruption and nepotism. So don't do that. Those short-term gains, what I always did in my practice as an HR practitioner is whenever a relative approached me for, say, a role in my organization where I worked, and this was before I went into the consulting and coaching space when I was still employed by big entities, I would look for another HR practitioner, a friend, and say, do you have a role that I can place this person in? And if for sure they did, I would place the person there. They would willingly take them on, especially if they were competent and skilled. That way, they don't accuse me of not helping my own relatives. But on the other hand, if they were not skilled, I would be honest with them and say, I'm sorry, we're looking for a financial analyst. Your degree is in history. What will your history do in financial analysis? Unless you've gone back and studied another skill. So I have saved them the trouble and tell them the truth. I'm just brutally honest with them, all right? So you have to have the leaders have to learn to be authentic. We need to say what we mean. You can't be drinking wine and preaching water as a leader. You can't do that. You should be seen to toe the line. There is something we call mimicry. The people that you lead will mimic and follow. Mentorship is all about mimicry. If you do certain things, you can be preaching integrity, but you don't practice it, your team members will not practice it either. So we have to have that honest conversation as leaders.
And allow me to just mention this, Joseph Ajal is ready to come to you and speak to the board of your organizations if you need him to be available. He will come and sensitize them on matter succession planning or any other HR consulting that you may require for your organization. He's an awesome, awesome consultant besides being a coach, and his expertise is in HR, among other things. Purity is asking, how can you link succession to competency framework?
Excellent question, Purity. Now, the competency framework is what will determine. Remember, I talked about the 9-box grid, the 6-box grid, whatever the number, even 4-box grid, if you want to go really, really basic and simple. The competency framework is what maps different competencies for different roles. So you have roles such as teller. These are the competencies required to be a good teller. Roles such as head of credit, these are the competencies required. So if the people have been deemed as competent and they have checked all the boxes on the grid, they are competent, then in much the same way, they might also now be ready for succession. But also you can't just dwell on the hard skills, the functional skills. Also look at the soft skills, the people skills. You might be an excellent salesperson as an individual contributor, but a horrible leader, a horrible manager, everybody runs away from you. So you need to try and find the nexus, the connectivity, that synergy between skills and competencies versus readiness for succession and the skills of leadership. So absolutely, there's definitely a correlation. Absolutely, there's a very strong one. I will not even deny it. Yeah. Grace, you're muted.
Yeah, that's what I just realized. Rehema Mutazindwa, your hand is up. Rehema. Okay, as we wait for Rehema, we can take it from Charity Njeri. Charity, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Grace. Joseph, I have a quick question. We've been talking about in succession, right? You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question. When we put aside family, how do you know your next successor in the business? And I also have another question to maybe bring you back. You see, when you are hiring people, we might hire the papers. So maybe if you have the right papers and then you come into the business and then you don't deliver according to your papers, how again do you now handle such a kind of an employee?
Okay. So there are very, very crystal clear methods of identifying successors. Number one, are they skilled? Number two, are they competent? There's a question that I just answered right now, which is referring to the competency framework. It was asked by, I think, Charity and Jerry. No, you're Charity and Jerry. So there's the person before that who asked that question. What is the correlation between, in fact, I can't. It's Purity.
It was Purity, yeah.
Purity Kinanu, yes.
Yeah.
There's a definite correlation between competency, experience, skilling, and readiness for succession. Not necessarily experience in terms of years, but experience in terms of skills and competencies and succession. So how you identify successors is how skilled, how competent they are, not whether they're your relative, not whether you like them. You don't even have to like them. They might be the best thing for your business. Let me give you a classic example of an organization that has managed succession so well, a global example. And I hate to use this example, but it's probably the best example we know of in modern corporate management. And that is Apple. Steve Jobs has been dead more than 10 years now. Steve Jobs, been gone. But his company, during the lockdown, for the first time hit $1 trillion in assets under management. And in just a few years, their valuation has now hit $2 trillion in assets under management. How is it possible that a man who's been dead that long, his company is growing exponentially? Simple. Succession planning and talent management. He put in place the frameworks such that his successors would achieve just as much success as he did. Now in Kenya, the performance of Safaricom has continued to scale and grow even after change of leadership. All right. The current chairman of the board of Kenya Airways was, in fact, the CEO of Safaricom. Is it Mr. Josephs? Something like that. And then we had another CEO who died.
Bob.
The Kenyans.
Bob. Yeah, Bob Colimo.
Bob Colimo. Bob Colimo was an amazing leader. I was privileged to meet him when he came to Kampala to speak at the Pakasa conference. I was really, really blown away by his simplicity and amazing insight and people skills. He was such an amazing guru of a leader. To this date, I'm blown away by Bob Colimo's simplicity, and his death really hit me hard. But Safaricom has not collapsed. Safaricom has continued to thrive. They hired Peter Ndegwa. And there are many examples you can think about in Africa, in Uganda, in Tanzania, in Kenya, of organizations that have continued to grow. In Uganda, I'll mention one other organization. For those of you who live in Kampala, like Rehema Mutazindwa, Saidi Alekwana, I know you're joining in from Brussels, but you're Ugandan. There is this company called Nice House of Plastics and Jessa Dairy Farm. The owner has been dead 11 years. The founder, he was called James Mulwana. His daughter is the current ED of that company, the executive director. And her brother, that is his son, is the CFO of that company. That company, Nice House of Plastics, has done so well that during the lockdown, they were the first Ugandan company to manufacture PPEs, private protective equipment, personal protective equipment, which was used by medical staff to dress up when they're going in to treat COVID positive patients. Now that was being manufactured in Uganda. They manufacture batteries, they make Jessa milk and Jessa dairy products, ice cream, yogurt, and so on and so forth. That company has grown exponentially. Uganda used to be a net import of plastics from Kenya. Ken Poly, that company, Ken Poly. Every house in Uganda had Ken Poly buckets, Ken Poly basins, Ken Poly cups and plates. Today, we have Nice House of Plastics. James Mulwana was the founder of Uganda Manufacturers Association. He's been dead 10 years, going on 11. At the time of his death, he was the chairman of the board of Standard Chartered Bank and Airtel Uganda. Such a simple guy. He was also a country council. He was a country council of one of those countries, and he used to drive himself. He had no bodyguard, he had no driver. And yet he was never late for a single meeting. Now, the things he put in place for succession, his daughter, his son, and the company that he left, the leadership team that he left behind, has now grown exponentially, much more than when he was alive. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is possible to have indigenous examples. You think about a company like Equity Bank. Equity Bank had very humble beginnings. It was like, a housing, small little housing company with some, I don't know what you guys call them in Kenya, chamas, savings groups. Yeah. You have in Uganda, they're called Niginas. How Equity Bank, as you see today, winning global awards, was a Nigina in Uganda. We call it Nigina, a savings group, a chama. People just coming together. Now, James Mwangi, the founder, has built a robust organization. Now, that's what we mean when we talk of talent planning, succession planning, and talent management. The ability for your organization to outlive you, for your leadership team to continue to thrive from greatness to greatness long after the founder has left the scene. That is it. That's your measure of success.
All right, Joseph, I would like to request you that you keep your answers shorter now because it's already 9, and allow me to request you that we borrow 5 minutes of your time to the audience so that we can get to just take on a few more questions. I can see there's a few on the chat and a few people have their hands up. So if you can kindly just allow us a few more minutes, and I promise we will be able to finish as soon as we can. Also allow me to recognize the presence of Herbert Zake, my good friend from Uganda. It is such an honor. I know he shares our flyers a lot in Kampala. So thank you very much, Herbert. And then our executive director, Kuresha Abdullahi at IHRM, is also on the call. And as well, by the way, we are hosting Said in July on growing your career in HR, because we are focusing a lot on career in HR, and the theme is growing your career. So we are hosting a few HR people. And yeah, other than that, hey, let me take one question from the chat and then allow Mwenda Itumbiri. Oh, Mwenda Paul, hi. Yeah, so just 1 second, Mwenda, before you speak, or you can speak as I look for this question. Just ask Ajal your question, Mwenda.
Thank you, Grace. Mwenda Itumbiri here. Now, my question to Joseph, and thank you very much for such an informative presentation. Now, is it possible for an organization to spot succession talent externally, outside the organization, and work knowing that should anything happen to this particular senior position, we just pick that person externally and plug? Is it possible for an organization to do that?
The simple answer, Paul, is yes. However, that now introduces another paradigm. We call that the homegrown versus the bought index. Good succession planning should heavily rely on the homegrown index as opposed to the bought index. Yes, there are people who, like, I know, clubs like, Real Madrid, Galacticos, they go out and buy big name players ready to play. Then you have clubs like Arsenal, Man U, Liverpool, who grow their own, teams from the academy, from infancy, from youthfulness, until they become senior players. So the more people you have on Exco who are homegrown, who are raised from within, the stronger your chances of surviving as an organization. The people that are bought, and I'm not saying it's true for everyone, but it's very likely that just like they came for the high salary, for the high position, they will also leave very quickly. They might not have the loyalty. They might not have the heart of the organization. They did not see you struggle. People you grew with are more loyal. They were there in the hard times. Now they are there in the good times. Stick together. They will most likely stay and work with you. But these bought people, I'm not saying it's true for everybody. No, it's not necessarily true, by the way. You can actually have a bought, a higher bought index, but then it's very highly risky. It's expensive to buy ready talent. Talent is expensive and very fluid. It moves wherever it's required, and it's paid better. So keep your own homegrown talent and build your succession and talent management pipelines.
All right. Thank you very much, Ajal. There's a very important question that I have seen by Rebecca. How do you differentiate ambition and high potential And how do you handle staff who are over ambitious to keep them engaged without necessarily putting them in the talent pool?
Interesting question, Rebecca. The question of ambition is one very, very interesting one. Ambitious for what? You do understand that sometimes people can grow out of your organization because there is simply no room. And this answers Joseph Duku's question. Joseph Duku, my friend from Kampala, a fellow HR practitioner, he also asked a similar question. How do you ensure that this person stays in your organization? Maybe they've outgrown your organization. It's fine. Wish them well. Release them. Let them go and fly and get their wings to fly and move out there. So as simple, I think that is the simplest I can answer that question. Yeah, they may actually, yes, they might be ambitious, true, but you don't have room in your organization. You have a very flat structure. You have an organization of 3 or 4 people or 5 people. Now, you don't have capacity to accommodate them. Wish them well, become their mentor, become their coach, and they will become a good brand ambassador for you if you wish them well and support them. Even write for them recommendation letters if need be.
Yeah, which brings me to my question. What if they leave? Like you had put them lined up. What if they leave?
There was a question asked by a CFO, if I train my people, what if I train my people and they leave?
They leave.
And then the MD says, what if you don't train them and they stay? Which is riskier, to train them and they leave, or to not train them and they stay unskilled, incompetent, and disengaged? Which is worse? For goodness sake, train them, release them to the market. There are companies in Uganda and in Kenya and other parts of the world that are known to constantly train and release people to the industry. They are net beneficiaries. The whole quality of the industry rises as people leave your organization. They become brand ambassadors, and eventually they might come back. You might be looking for that elusive skill in Exco, and this guy or this lady is the only person who was trained by your organization 10 years ago who can fit, even MD, and you go back to the same market because he or she has grown and expanded and become more competent and skillful. And now they're ready for succession, and they can't even come back if they never left under bad circumstances, of course, if they were a good leader. So there's nothing wrong with training them and they leave. It's okay. Be selfless, give to the world, pay it forward. Even you, everything that was planted in you, you're not able to repay it back. You're incapable of paying it back. So why be selfish? Give it back to the world. Pay it forward, release it to the world, and the world will give it back to you, shaken down, pressed, and measured.
Excellent, excellent. I like that. Kevin umesikia. So where are we? Maurice Ailey, I hope I got your name correct. Maurice Ailey, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you so much, Grace. And thank you, Joseph, for such an informative discussion, a very important topic, succession planning. My question is, you have mentioned about the talent committee that organizations should put in place. What would be the right composition of members to discuss and calibrate staff if I chose to calibrate talent, if I chose, for example, to use a 9-grid box? And then vis-a-vis the fact that you mentioned that we should not keep the succession plans under key and lock. Say, for example, we calibrate a certain particular talent and it's a mismatch. And then also the need to keep that confidential for not wanting to demotivate someone. What would be your advice? Thank you.
Now, let's not mix performance management with talent management. Okay, thank you very much, Maris. I know Maris from Kampala. It's another friend of mine. We should not mix succession planning with talent management. Neither should we mix engagement, staff engagement with performance management. Performance appraisal is clear-cut. These are your key performance objectives or indicators or results areas. These are your indicators of success. You've not succeeded, the results are there for all to see. And if that continues, you're put on PIP, eventually you're exited. You might be even a high potential. Yeah, you might be a perfect fit, but a poor performer. The talent metrics is different from the performance management system. Let's get that very straight from today onwards. Let's not confuse the two. Lots of organizations confuse the two. Somebody is a poor performer, they think that person has low potential for succession. No, they might be a poor performer because of reasons beyond their control. Have they been given tools of trade? Have they been enabled? Do they have a good boss, a good leader who unleashes their potential? Or have they been suppressed by a jealous leader, one who is, insecure about their own position? If you release this young man or woman into another department, they might fly. So let's not confuse performance management with succession planning and management. Those two are distinct. We look at each one for its own merits and demerits. Somebody might actually be good for succession when in fact they're struggling in their current performance role. Of course, it would be best if there's a mix and match, it would be best, but it doesn't always mean that a poor performer is low on potential for succession, and the reverse is also true. It doesn't necessarily mean that somebody with a high potential for succession is also a great performer. Not necessarily. Those two are not the same. It would be best if they were, but they are not always the same. Thank you. And by the way, Maris, if you realize that this person is not a good fit anymore, from the performance, their succession planning, potential is also very low. They're a low potential person and a low performer. Don't feel afraid or scared to release them and wish them well. Give them a letter to say, I wish you well in your next endeavors. Joseph Mugula, you asked a question, what is wrong with appointing competent relatives? Nothing. Nothing is wrong. If they are competent, yes. And if you have the control, unless, of course, you work in a public entity or a listed company where the issue of appointing relatives now becomes an issue, declaration of conflict of interest and so on and so forth. But if it's your company, there's nothing wrong with appointing your wife or your brother or your sister. There's nothing wrong if they are competent. If they are not, no, don't.
Yeah. You're raising some very, very, very good answers. Before we ask like two of the last questions, allow me to give the offer by Pathway Solutions. 5 HRM, you can check your screens now. I have shared the screen. We have an offer. Pathway Solutions is giving 5 HR managers and 5 HR managers and practitioners 2 courses each. This is on the LMS, Learning Management System. So this is self-paced. You learn by yourself. There's business succession planning. There's crisis management. There's talent management, millennial onboarding, generation gaps, workplace harassment, diversity and inclusion, personal productivity, emotional intelligence, and work-life balance. 5 of the people on this call get a chance to be trained for free by Pathway Solution Services. And 2 of the, what you get trained is among the 10 that are listed on your screen right now. Please write an email to grace@atarasolutions.co.ke. Kevin is putting up that email, and copy frank@pathwaysolutionservices.co.uk. And then it's fast come, fast serve. So if you're quick on your feet, then you'll be among the 5 winners. Unfortunately, we are not able to give everyone. I know it's normally very competitive, but these offers are there every Tuesday. By the way, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we do this every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to about 9:30, because I can see time is almost gone. But yeah, you still stand a chance to win every week. So 5 HR managers or practitioners get a chance to be trained for free by Pathway Solution Services on 2 of the sessions that are listed on your screen. And yeah, you get a certificate at the end of it all. So shout out to the HR Mao people present on this call. Thank you very much for joining us. And I am gonna ask the last question before you guys leave. There's a question I saw. Ajal, I don't know, we can have you back for a minute. So there's probably you had answered this. Where is that question? My God, I lost it. Okay, how do you, because I've seen 2 people ask this, how do you implement succession planning in an organization that has narrow growth structure to avoid frustration amongst the talent pool?
Excellent question. I think that was asked by Joseph Duku, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, there's Joseph and then there's Winfred as well.
Okay. Now, if you have a very flat structure, it's not very easy to accommodate everybody. So how do you ensure that people are still engaged and interested? You no longer have a career ladder. You have a career lattice. What's the difference? A career ladder means every so many years or so many, steps in your organization, you'll grow to the next and next and next level and so on and so forth. The career lattice, on the other hand, means there's not necessarily any further position of vertical growth to go into, but there could be positions of horizontal growth. You could become multi-skilled, multifunctional across the organization. You could also be part of cross-functional teams. CFTs are a good way to absorb talent that might have leaked out to the competition because there is no space to accommodate them. Put people in different teams. If somebody is good in IT, but they like HR, switch them around, give them the skilling and the training. Put them on a cross-functional team, like in change management, like in business process reengineering, a BPR team, a change management team, a product launch team, marketing team, and so on and so forth. Make them constantly busy, switch them around. If there's not enough to keep them engaged, they will definitely get bored and they'll leave. And then put them through crucible experiments, crucible assignments that challenge them enough that they want to stay committed to serving the organization. So that's how you do that. I saw another lovely question there on the chat by a gentleman called Evans Kaburu. Evans asks, how do you identify critical roles that require succession planning? A critical role is a role that you cannot do without. Let me give you a typical example. Kenya Breweries Limited, East African Breweries Limited, Uganda Breweries Limited, Serengeti Breweries Limited are all part of the Diageo group. In breweries, you need an assembly line. So you need engineers and technicians. You need glass for bottles to package the beer and spirits. You need barley, you need hops, you need wheat, you need yeast, and so on and so forth. You need boilers, you need a production and an assembly line. So the critical functions are production engineers, production manager, supply management or supply chain management. The entire supply and value chain, marketing, sales, those are critical. We call those frontline departments or frontline functions. You cannot build a succession plan without critical roles. And what's critical? It's a role that without it, that company is as good as useless. You cannot have a beer company that cannot manufacture beer. What's the use? So you need people who are able to bottle and package beer and spirits. Typical. That's your core. Now, you might do with less finance people, with less HR and admin people, less procurement people. You still need them, but they might not be as critical. We call these mission critical roles. Without mission critical roles, you're as good as sunk. So you need mission critical stuff in mission critical roles. This is how you define the criteria for succession. You start with mission critical, then the others later. And that's not to say some organizations use terms such as core versus support roles. I discourage the use of that personally because it can create rifts in the organization and can create silos, and some people feeling entitled like they're the special children and the others feeling like they're just adopted children. No. I don't encourage that. I encourage all functions to be treated equally, but you need to know at the back of your mind which is the mission critical function and which ones are support functions. At the back of your mind, you don't have to expose it and talk about it openly because it can lead to disengagement, right? Over to you, Grace.
All right, interesting. Charity was asking, should there be a discussion or an agreement about succession planning? People, yeah. Should there be an agreement or just a discussion?
There should be a discussion. There should be a discussion.
Okay.
The agreement, you don't have to agree, by the way. You don't have to agree to the succession plan. The succession plan is the preserve of the board, the EXCO, and the TRP, talent review panel. They are the ones charged with ensuring the succession plan and the succession management system is in place, not you. For you, if they tell you that tomorrow you've been appointed MD, will you say, I don't want, me, I'm not ready? But the board, the TRP, talent review panel, has found you deemed you ready and fit for succession now. Why are you letting down the entity? So it's not up to you to discuss or agree. You just follow the instructions. Expect that the TRP has done its job. Their job is to give you feedback, and your job is to follow the feedback and act on the things you've been told to do.
Excellent. My God, we can be here all day. Christine Kemathi, last question. I see your hand is up. Christine? Okay, and I must mention that already I have 10 emails on the offer by Pathway Solutions. So you certainly may not get an opportunity to win if you haven't sent it already at this point. Rose Wangare, before we get the parting shot from Ajal. Rose Wangare, your hand is up. Okay, I think it was her phone playing tricks. Right, so thank you, Ajal. Please, your parting shot.
Thank you very much, Grace and Atara Solutions, for offering to host me. Thank you to IHRM Kenya and your leader, Quraish. Thank you to HRMAU in Uganda and our leader, Ronald Bosa. My friends from Kampala and around Uganda, Rebecca, Moding Rukidi, and the many HR friends and colleagues in Uganda who have joined this call. My company, Precision HR, I see Joseph Mugula on call, Eunice Among, members of HRMAU, Herbert Zake, and all the Ugandan practitioners of HR, my brothers and sisters from Kenya. Thank you so much, Asanteni Sana, for joining this call and for hosting us. And may your succession plans come to fruition.
Yes. And I would like to add that if you're stuck on succession planning, Joseph Ajal is a phone call away. I will be able to hook you up with his contacts. If you wish to engage him or your board, he can come and speak to your board. He can come and speak to your practitioners. And yes, this conversation is not only for HR people. It is just because Herbert and I happen to be in the HR forum. So kind of you attract the same people, but it is open for everyone. I've seen somebody who's saying they're not in HR, but they have enjoyed the session. So we are glad that you joined us. And please tell your friends about us and we'll be very happy. This is Get It Right with Atara Solutions. We are seeking to demystify issues in employment and entrepreneurship. We do this every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. We have a session coming up for younger people on the 7th of July, which is Thursday next week. If you have people in Form 3, Form 4, or people who just cleared Form 4 or high school, and they are looking to choose their careers, we have a career, we are calling it Making Informed Career Choices for your young people, because they are the people who we are getting as successors in our organizations. And Kevin has put that on the chat. For those of you asking about the recording of this session, we have actually we'll upload it on our YouTube channel, and we will share that with you as well. Thank you to those people who joined us on Facebook. Asanteni Sana, we really appreciate you. And of course, shout out to everyone who joined us from all over the world. I know there's some people from South Africa, Kinshasa. I know Father is here. I've seen quite a number of people from everywhere. So thank you very much for making the time to being here. And of course, Catherine Sidandi, our sign language interpreter. By the way, if you have any events and you're looking for a sign language interpreter, Catherine Sidandi will be there. We are seeking to be inclusive. Please don't leave anyone behind. Please, Catherine Sidandi, asante sana. We really appreciate you. I've forgotten how you taught me to say asante, Catherine. How do we say thank you? Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. She's normally here every Tuesday to make sure that Atara Get It Right with Atara Solutions remains inclusive. Ajal, I cannot thank you enough. And this is a conversation that we need to continue having. And I believe that we shall make a difference. So, oh yeah, I've seen Aaron Turamio from Rwanda. Thank you, Aaron, for joining us. Asante sana. And yeah, we cannot do this without the help of our partners. Allow me just to quickly give them a shout out. We have Balcon Housing, we have Stallion Construction Company, Ames College of Business and Technology, Wendy Restaurant, the Career Management Center, Pathway Solutions. You guys have already gotten some offers from Pathway Solutions. Please keep it here. Most of you have gotten this training. We got a very good recommendation from Sandra. She really enjoyed it. We Clean, Kapula Mintito, Fina Gardens. I have told you that if you're in Naivasha and you're looking for a place to eat, sleep, or just make merry, Fina Gardens Resort is there for you, and you get a 10% discount just by the fact that you are a follower of Get It Right with Atara Solutions, or that you know Grace Nzula. Yes, Grace Nzula, we call it Jina Kubwa. Jina Kubwa in English is a big name. So if you go with my big name, you will be given a discount. And in August, if you're taking a holiday in August, You pay 2 nights and they'll give you 1 night for free at Fina Gardens Resort. And then we have the College of Career Guidance and Development. We have partnered with them to bring to you the career guidelines and session next week on Thursday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Please register your children. Let them come and get informed. Let's have people in organizations who are loving their jobs. Let's have people in organizations who are doing what they wanted to do and who choose their careers because that is what they are good at. And we will be guiding them. Imagine if your child is in Form 3 and they get this conversation now. Even when you're choosing colleges in university, you'll have no issues. And then we have Panessa Training Institute, which is a carpentry school, which I happen to manage. So come and find me there and we'll be able to teach you. Thank you so much, Joseph. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you to our audience. If you tuned into this call, we really, really have loved that you're here. And yes, we are celebrating 2 years of existence. That is no mean feat. We probably have covered like what? 26 plus 34 plus 24. What is that? 24 plus 26 is 50. And then 34. We are on 84th episode of Get It Right with Atara Solutions. My friends, if you don't have money for training, don't complain that you're never trained. Just go to Get It Right with Atara Solutions YouTube channel and you will get a lot of information there and it's free for you. So asante sana. Joseph, let's catch up on phone. Thank you so much. Catherine, thank you. Kevin, I did not allow you to conclude this meeting. Allow us to do that next week. Thank you so much for the support. You've been posting on Facebook. Asante sana. You guys have yourselves a lovely, lovely night. And thank you so much, Jen Olago, for being here every Tuesday. And we shall see you next week as we kick off the HR month. Asante sana.